Here's the new iSteady Pro, a purpose-based gimbal specially dedicated to action cams like GoPro, latest and greatest, or the Enterphone era. Let's find that out!
Welcome Tech4O channel, my name is Michael and I'm very happy to see you here on the channel. We're currently vlog testing, yes, straight to the vlog testing so that you figure out whether there is some motor noise when I'm using an action camera on the gimbal, and that's the embedded microphone of the Apeman A100, the 2020 edition, which means the same action camera with the old features but a touch screen. I'll tell you about this action camera in another episode. Now we're switching to an external microphone because it just sounds better, and I'm currently using this action camera on purpose because it's a $100 device. It's paired with the iSteady Pro 3, which costs around $90, which makes less than $200 if you don't count the external recorder setup, which is a rather good, interesting, affordable solution. And I'm currently recording in POV mode, which means that it doesn't matter the direction, the camera is going to follow me smoothly. Question is, how good actually this mechanical stabilization is.
If you're wondering why we really need an action cam gimbal, I can think of a few scenarios where they can come handy. For instance, if the action cam has poor or no stabilization, or if you need better low light footage, or if you want to follow the 180-degree cinematography rule, where the shutter speed when filming should be twice the frames per second. Or if you want to add image stabilization for slow motion or high frames per second modes, where your action camera doesn't support that. Apparently quite a few reasons, but there are a few major problems that accompany those scenarios. First of all, that's yet another device to master and get to know. Secondly, the camera's form factors, which sometimes could be a challenge. And thirdly, the action cam integration, where most vendors don't follow any universal guidelines about that. Therefore, it's optimistic to expect in-gimbal controls for the shutter, unless it's a dedicated brand. And last but not least, there already are a lot of action cams with brilliant stabilization like the GoPro Hero 9 or the DJI Osmo Action, so that more or less makes devices like iSteady Pro 3 rather redundant. But priced at $89, it's not that expensive, especially if you prefer not to buy expensive new action cam gear. Unboxing an iSteady gimbal is always fine. To be honest, the pack here is a little simpler than the usual, but having a hard protective case is good enough for me to say it is a well-packed device, and as usual, Hohem are thoughtful about transportation. Interesting fact, looking into the pack, it would actually need more space than the case for DJI Osmo Mobile 3 or the OM4, which are both foldable smartphone gimbals and do have the option to also support action cams if you get one of these conversion plates. The body is mostly plastic, seems to be of good quality, and we can find these buttons and controls, which are to be found in most iSteady devices from previous generations. Stabilization is apparently 3-axis based, panning, tilting and rolling, which are being compensated so that the footage looks smooth and nice. If you want to hear more about the technical specs, compatible with most action cams except the Hero 9, 3-axis mechanical stabilization, quick release mount, up to 150-gram payload supported, battery life up to 12 hours, 2 quarter-inch threaded mounts, IPX4 waterproof, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi support. And I guess that's most interesting about it. Generally, it's lightweight, quiet, easy to use, and unlike gimbals for large cameras, there's not much of a learning curve or complex setup procedures that you need to follow. Simply put the action cam, tighten, power on both devices, and enjoy shooting. If you're lucky, there might be a way to control the camera from within the gimbal, but the support is quite limited. If you hope for GoPro or Osmo Action integration, well, not quite. To control the movements, the stabilization algorithm and the overall performance, we have a joystick and a few buttons, and also on the opposite side of the buttons, there's the trigger button, which has certain functions like locking the stabilization mode or recentering the gimbal, or some other more advanced tricks. Since we're now aware of the hardware part, let's move on to the software and controls and get to analyze some footage. The iSteady line is famous for being quite easy to control. It makes no difference here. There are 4 different stabilization modes. The default pan-follow, where the horizon is fixed. There's no rolling and only panning movements are possible. Then you have the pan and tilt follow, which unlocks the rolling axis and could be good for some revealing shots and architecture videography. Then we have the all lock mode, meaning that whatever you do with your movements is not impacting the camera's position. And the fourth mode is the opposite one, the POV mode, which I was showing at the start of this video. Feels like footage captured from FPV drone and gives more dynamics to the scene, if that's the effect you're looking for. All the modes are being switched by a single press, and you can guess the mode that you're currently at by looking into the small LED display. The joystick is here to apply the needed corrections and point the action cam in the direction that you need. It also has to be used if you want to use Inception mode, which a couple of years ago was a very popular thing to do with gimbals. For the iSteady Pro 3, there's also a smartphone app. It allows you to fine-tune the smoothness and the response speed, and also to perform firmware updates if needed. You've seen already some footage stabilized with the gimbal. Generally, mechanical stabilization is always a great thing, although you probably notice that if we entirely rely on the gimbal here, footage is not perfectly stable. Most action cameras these days are taking advantage of the high shutter speeds to apply electronic image stabilization, and if you shut the EIS off and count on the mechanical, the image quality, possibly in low light, could be significantly better, especially with cheaper cameras. Of course, no matter the lighting conditions, the footage is gonna look significantly more stable if you use a gimbal. The other big advantage of mechanical stabilization is the usage of lens filters, so that you can follow the 180-degree rule. If I want to shoot cinematic-looking clip in 30 frames per second, I need to adjust the shutter speed of my camera to be 60. The thing is that only a few action cameras support such a feature. Most of them are rather expensive, and you will also need to use lens filters in order to expose the scene correctly. So you need knowledge, lens filters, patience, more money, and might be that the end results are still not going to be as good as you hoped for, despite the efforts that you have put into that. Therefore, in order to save you some time and money, at least in the long run, I can make the following recommendation. Sell your current action camera, save a bit more money, and buy the DJI Osmo Pocket. Yes, that's a complete device, and the second generation is here at the price of $350. The first generation, on the other side, if you find it in stock, is gonna be heavily discounted. Or simply you could invest in a better action cam with gimbal-like stabilization, like the Hero 9 by GoPro, which due to the size is anyways incompatible with this gimbal, or get the DJI Osmo Action or the Insta361R. I believe buying this gimbal only makes sense if you want to use it primarily with SJCam SJ10 Pro or SJ8 Pro, because both can be controlled from the buttons and you can actually stop and start the recordings. In any other case, if you want to buy an action cam compatible gimbal, I'd certainly recommend you getting a smartphone gimbal with conversion plate, because it will fulfill the very same good job. It's got to be much more portable, perhaps waterproof, and you will be able to use it with your smartphone as well. So in the end, yeah, I do believe the progress with image stabilization with action cams makes such gimbals like the iSteady Pro 3 rather unattractive and unnecessary. The end of an era? Maybe. There seem to be too many challenges and drawbacks when using such a device paired with an action cam, but on the other hand, the iSteady Pro 3 is the best action cam stabilizer that the company has released yet, and we should appreciate the fact that the company is not giving up on us, the action cam enthusiasts and fans. I hope this video has helped you to decide whether you need such a gimbal or not, and to show you everything you need to know before choosing your next mechanical gimbal. If you enjoyed, please rate the video using the like or dislike buttons. As usual, links to all the devices shown throughout the review you'll find in the description below with the best possible prices I managed to get for you. Stay safe, take good care of yourself, shoot smooth videos, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!